welcome back to a new video. So today I am going to be sharing 12 life lessons that I learned at the age of 22. So let's get into it. Use fear and stress as a tool for growth. I've always found YouTube to be very interesting. I remember back in high school, college, even until uni, I would spend hours consuming YouTube videos and just be inspired by the creative YouTubers that I watch. And it got me wonder, should I start a YouTube channel? I mean, I'm still young. I should really try out different things. So back then, I was really contemplating if I should start or not because I didn't know where to start, what content should I be filming, how else would I be able to express my feelings and thoughts as precisely as possible through words and video. And I have to say, words can be very powerful, so it is best to be as precise and be as accurate when you're using it. So I was contemplating for nearly a year or two, and finally on 14 March 2020 I decided to publish my first ever YouTube video. And I have to say, it was a really terrible video, and I am still very cringe about it and embarrassed as well. But as embarrassing as it may be, I have never regret posting it. Not because I managed to find some success on this platform, which obviously no, because I am barely there yet, but it has pushed me out of my comfort zone to try out public speaking, try out filming, try out just using my own creativity to just produce something that I think is good. Back then, when I was contemplating whether or not I should take up my phone and film my first video, I asked myself this exact question. And I find this question to be very useful, especially when I don't know whether I should try this new activity out. And that question is, will I regret this at the age of 60? And the answer was no, I wouldn't. Because when I am 60, old and saggy and just sitting in a couch drinking a cup of tea, I would most likely just think that I am adorable, I was curious, I was so courageous to do something like that, because it's like completely out of my character to even take out a phone and film and just make a video. It is completely out of my comfort zone, and if I won't regret it in my 60s, why would I regret it right now in my 20s? I should just go for it. Health is very, very important, and it's better to start now than later. I realized this at a very, very young age, back when I had to see my loved ones experience health issues. And I have to say, it made me realize that I won't ever want to be in that position. If I can prevent it, I would like to do that as soon as possible. And I would really like to see people being as healthy as possible, especially the people that I care about. So I embarked on this healthier lifestyle journey back when I was in high school, along with my mom, who was in her 40s. And this proves that if she can start in her 40s, you can start now. It's never too late to start. And I have to say, we've come a really, really long way, and I am very, very proud of us, of our progress. I remember when I was in high school, I was that kid who doesn't enjoy sweating, who doesn't participate in any form of sport. I would never volunteer for any physical activities like running, and I couldn't even finish a 5K run. I could barely reach halfway. I would just want to stop the moment I started running. That was how bad in shape I was. I can't believe I managed to improve so much, and it took me years to even reach this point. It took me like 5 years, I think. I didn't have much resources. All the resources that I have was through online, through YouTube. A lot of self-research, self-learning, and I've always had to take everything with a grain of salt. Comparing myself back then to now, I couldn't even be more proud. If you are interested in doing workouts, I do have some workout videos that you can try out. I'll put like a link up on top, I think here or here. So please do check that out if you are interested, or you can find anything that works for you online. So there is a quote from the book 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson, which says that compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. And also a very lovely quote which mentions, don't compare your day 1 to someone else day 100. So this relates to the next lesson that I am going to share, which is live at your own pace. So how I see it is that as long as I am improving little by little, step by step, even tiny little baby steps, or even if I am currently stagnant somewhere else in my life, I would just have to keep moving forward. Keep exploring for new options and just be as open-minded as possible. As long as I am improving compared to where I was like a year ago or half a year ago, and I see that tiny little improvement, I will just give myself a pat on the back. Obviously, this is easier said than done. And I have to say, all of us have bad days, and for me, sometimes my hormones are just everywhere, especially when period is around the corner. I would just be so harsh on myself. I would just start spiraling down this rabbit hole of negative thoughts, and I would just think that I'm not enough, I am far behind. If I think back, I used to be very, very hard on myself, and I still do that even now. It is difficult to talk to yourself without being harsh, and I can be so mean that I don't even understand why, because I wouldn't treat somebody that I know or anybody at all with this sort of attitude, but I just do it to myself. And it made me realize that I need to learn and practice self-compassion. It is very important, and I find it very helpful, especially when you're trying to pick yourself back up. I am currently trying my best to be kind with the things that I say to myself. And my inner child needs my encouragement, my kind and constructive feedback, and my support, not my harsh and unhelpful comments. So I am my biggest supporter, along with my loved ones and family to support me when I need it, but I realize that I am with myself 24/7. So I have to be my biggest supporter and be there for myself, to support myself when I am feeling down. And I have to be kind to myself in order to do that. But I also find that there is a fine line between being harsh on myself versus setting high standards for myself. So oftentimes I would have to think through it to really distinguish between the two of those. Stop worrying, trust in the process, and just let life unfold. Okay, so this can be pretty conflicting. Part of me believes that what's meant to be will always find its way, so just let it flow, which kind of represents fluidity, like water. And there's like another part of me which believes that you are responsible for your life and you should take charge of it. And that's like sort of the opposite. I agree with both, and I think they go hand in hand with each other really, really well, because the people that I meet and part ways with, like friends, family, or anyone, I think it's a meant to be. Like, I think that it's likely put there for a reason, for you to experience, for you to learn, for you to grow as a person. As for being responsible for my life and taking charge of it, I think most of that is associated with hard work, consistency, learning the practical skills, and the knowledge that you need to put the effort in to master. And be prepared for the opportunities that are meant to come by, and actually have the skills and be ready to take charge of it. So basically what I'm trying to actually say is that control the things that you can control and do it to the best of your ability, and just let the external things unfold and just let it flow. Have you ever seen a woman age beautifully? Because Personally, I have seen a couple. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen a woman like that. And I aspire to be like that one day, if possible. So I don't mean it by outer appearance where they use the best anti-aging cream to prevent all the wrinkles and the saggy skin. I meant it by their aura, their wisdom, the knowledge that they have, lovely attitude that they really have, like how they hold themselves. And it is just so beautiful. It is not something that you can get with anti-aging cream, and I think that is why it is super expensive. It is priceless. It is valuable, and I believe that it is also a proof that age is just a number. Age doesn't define you, because you can be equally beautiful even though you are in your 30s, 40s, or 50s. Because it's not the outer appearance, it's the beauty within that shines out. So another reason for why I believe that age is just a number and life does get better as you age is as you age and get older, you do get more exposure to experiences, life events, and through these, you do learn more things. And I think it's very exciting because you do get to apply these things to help you navigate through life more efficiently. And even if I am at 22, if I look back to high school, college, university, every chapter has been beautiful and I am very grateful for it. But they do get better and better. So back in high school, I used to think that I would always be this nerdy girl wearing glasses and just never have the confidence. But slowly, years go by, into college, into university, I get more experiences. And through that, it made me learn how to build confidence, still in progress, learn how to take care of myself, learn how to be more independent, learn a lot more skills. And I do believe that I have improved a lot. I can see it. And even if no one else does, I see it in myself. And I'm proud of that. And that is why I think that life does get better. Have you ever looked back on an event and suddenly realized that it's been a year ago since it happened, or 5 years or 10 years, but all of it is still so fresh in your mind and it seems like it just happened yesterday? And this made me realize 3 things which I think that they are interconnected in some sort of way. They're all related to time. So the first thing is the passing of time is inevitable. So I remember coming across an online article which mentions that time passes faster as we grow older. And even though everybody has the same amount of physical time, which is 24 hours a day, the human mind perceives time differently, meaning that physical time is different to mind time. So someone in their 60s would experience time passing by so much more faster compared to someone who is 16. And I think that this is quite true because as I grew older, I do find time flying by so much more faster than before and than expected. Since the passing of time is inevitable, I realized that what I choose to spend my time on is very important. Like, I remember hearing advice from people saying that time is valuable, time management is key, no amount of money can ever buy back time. And I thought that I fully understand it, but it turns out that I only scratched the surface of it. Only recently, when I was doing my annual year-end review and actually turning a year older, it suddenly struck me that 时间真的不等任何人, which translates to time waits for no one. And I often hear this in Chinese, so I'm just gonna put it out there. I really need to learn how to be more intentional with what I spend my time on and who do I spend it with. Hopefully, I can learn how to do it even better and better as the years pass. A lot can happen in a year. So I love to do yearly reviews, and I like to write letters to my future self every year, and it has to be handwritten because I just love the aesthetic of it, and I think it is something very romantic that you can do for yourself. It is also very interesting and insightful because you get to glance at your own timeline and actually look at it from an objective viewpoint. So every year when I look back on what happened, reflecting on whatever that I have done in the past year, it always brings me back to this one thought. A lot can happen in a year, and I think that this is very motivating for me because knowing that there will be progress as long as I keep it consistent at whatever that I am doing throughout a year, I would actually be able to see a slight improvement or actually a huge improvement. Either way, I will still be very happy for myself. But this can also mean that everything is temporary. So the people, the places, the routines, all of it is just temporary given how fast time flies. I remember thinking that 5 years of high school would be forever and it would always stay the same. It turns out that a lot has changed, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing thinking back. Seeing the progress that I've been able to make just makes me so proud. So if you are doing a yearly review or you're just having the thought of where was I a year ago, keep in mind that no matter how much you've been able to progress, even if it's just a little tiny bit, you're doing an absolutely great job, and I am really proud of you. So keep going. You'll get whatever it is that you want to achieve steadily with consistent effort. Embracing your feminine and masculine energy. So I am going to be relating this point to fitness since it is the only thing that I can relate to at the moment. There is still a lot that I haven't really tapped into on this topic of feminine and masculine energy. I feel like I've only scratched the surface level of it, and there's still so much for me to really learn. But I do really want to share about it because I think that it is interesting and it could be insightful. Okay, I used to think that to be fit means being strong and powerful, which is more of a masculine sort of energy. For example, winning and arm wrestling with a guy, which has never ever happened before. But I've always liked the challenge of it because being able to see how long I can withstand my opponent's strength is just really interesting and really fun. Anyways, to put that aside, to build up strength, I used to think that there is only one way to do so, and that would be through weightlifting, which inclines more towards the masculine side. And I thought that I would have to keep progressing, keep adding more weights, keep pushing myself. And yes, all of that is absolutely challenging and fun and really structured, and I absolutely love the structure of it. But there are times where I am interested and want it to be more fluid and flexible and just be in a flow state, which inclines more towards the feminine side. So to really get connected to my feminine side, I decided to try out yoga, and it really allows me to get a connection to different parts of me that I've never been able to express, or I've just been trying to hide for a really long time. Also, the flexibility and the strength required to do yoga is absolutely challenging as well. So if you are interested or you've been thinking of trying it out, I would definitely recommend you to do so. So back to what I was saying on feminine and masculine energy, relating it all to fitness, is that there is no one way of doing things. Sometimes if I want to be more in touch with my masculine side, I would go for intense workout, weightlifting, and all of that sort of stuff. And if I want to be more connected and be more in touch with my feminine side, I would just, in my case, go for yoga or anything that you find that allows you to have that connection with more of your feminine energy. So all of these activities that I've just mentioned, they all require strength. It's just that the type of strength that they really need for each activity is just a little bit different. And I think that being able to be aware, embrace and accept your both feminine and masculine side is just a really beautiful thing to experience and just know. Perspective is a very interesting thing. So the older I get, the more people I meet, I came to the realization that everyone sees the world differently. And it's very interesting to really hear their perspective. Imagining yourself in their shoes, there is always something interesting to discover and also probably to learn. I find that it just opens up the mind, and what you see just broadens up so much that one day I just suddenly realized that I've been putting myself in a box for so long, and I've actually have the power to step out of it and really go out and explore, experience and learn from a totally different viewpoint. So another great way to gain perspective is to read. I've always known that reading can help improve your vocabulary, to learn a language, but only in the recent years I realized that it does provide a lot of perspective. And sometimes I find myself looking at things from a totally different viewpoint after reading just an article or a book, and it feels incredible to really experience everything that you've always experienced but from a totally different standpoint, perspective or viewpoint. Gratitude. I think that gratitude is a very beautiful perspective to have. So there is this practice where you write down 3 things that you're most grateful for every morning. And I really admire the people who are able to do so, because I've tried it and I haven't been able to do it every day or every week. I just couldn't keep it consistent. Instead of writing it down, I try to become more aware of the little things that I experience throughout the day. So for example, being able to wake up to a peaceful morning, making a simple meal to fill out my empty stomach, or just being able to have a job and provide myself. So this has taught me to become more aware and be more grateful of the present moment, knowing that I can give meaning to the experiences that I have every day. And overall, it has helped me calm down a lot. Rather than just moving on to the next task after completing the current one, I can actually slow down and just take it at my own pace instead of pushing myself forward for the number-driven or the physical results. And I think that being able to practice gratitude is just a really beautiful thing to experience, and it is a little bit life-changing overall. So these are all the 12 lessons that I learned at the age of 22. Of course, there's still a lot of room to learn, experience, and grow, but this is what I have for now, so I'm just going to be sharing this out. Anyways, thank you for watching until the very end. I think that this will be a very long video, and I am grateful that you've been able to stick until the very end. So do give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That will support me a lot for this channel as well. And thank you. I'll see you in 2022. Bye!